Hello everyone. In the last class, we had discussed about some common names, some methods how to give the common names to some compounds which are very commonly asked in the competitive exams. And further, we had to go through further more common names and then comes the IUPAC naming. But before we start the IUPAC naming, we will be understanding few more basic terminologies which are required to have a better understanding of organic compounds and organic chemistry. So in today's class, we will be talking about those basic terminologies and how to figure out the hybridization of the carbon, which is involved in making an organic compound, how to figure out the degree of the carbon, how to find out the degree of unsaturation of a compound, all that we will discuss in the today's class. By the way, when we talk about hybridization, I'm sure that you would have learned this hybridization in chemical bonding chapter also. And you must be aware what is valence bond theory, what is molecular orbital theory, all this you must have done in detail. So basically what exactly is hybridization or what happens in hybridization? All of us know that from one shell, different orbitals, they mix up together, the different orbitals of different energies, they mix up together and then they form the hybrid orbitals which have different shape and energies as compared to their parent orbitals. So their parent orbitals, like say if I talk about S is spherical, we talk about P is double shaped, but if you talk about sp3, the shape would be different. Sp3 orbitals will have different shape as compared to individually P or individually S, as well as the energies would be different. S has a different energy, P has a different energy, but when these combine to form the new hybrid orbitals, all those orbitals will have same set of energy and same shape. So this exactly is the hybridization. And when the hybridization takes place, it makes it suitable for bonding. And hybridization tells us the shape of the molecule. That's what we have learned in the chemical bonding. Basically, hybridization gives you the even energy throughout, or the orbitals or the electrons which are going to do the bonding, they come to a certain energy level which is same for all the electrons participating in the chemical bonding, and then they start forming the chemical bond. That exactly this is what exactly happens in the hybridization. So hybridization is the concept of energy also, and hybridization is the concept of shape also. And we have learned that we get to understand the shape of the molecules using the hybridization concept. So basically, hybridization is nothing else but a thought process. It's just a thought process which gives us a scientific explanation of the shape of a molecule. But is it entirely true? Is it just hybridization which is causing the shape of the molecule? Let me just tell you, no, it is not. First of all, you have to understand something. All the molecules which we have all around, all the molecules have different shapes, and they try to attain the shape which gives them the maximum stability. So all the molecules will arrange their atoms in such a way so that they can be in the most stable form of themselves. And most stable means they should have the least energy. By the way, stability is inversely proportional to energy. If I say maximum stability, or more the stability is, lesser would be the energy. So it has an inversely proportional relationship. More will be the stability, lesser will be the energy, lesser will be the energy, more will be the stability. So basically, molecules try to attain the maximum stability by creating an environment for themselves, by keeping their energy in the least form. So the main you can say contributing factor for the shape of a molecule is not just hybridization but the energy of a molecule. So we can't say that hybridization defines the shape of the molecule. Energy in a molecule, or energy of the molecule, defines the shape of a molecule. Why is it so? Why we cannot consider only hybridization as a factor? Because if only hybridization would have been the factor for the shape of the molecules, in that case, all the molecules or all the atoms which are specifically following a certain hybridization, they should have followed the same shape. For example, if I talk about, let's say, sp3 hybridization, in this case, I have taken three examples. One, I have taken CH4, another, I have taken NH3, and the third, I have taken water. In all the three cases, all the three molecules are basically following sp3 hybridization. But are their shapes same? No. When I talk about CH4, the shape what CH4 follows is a tetrahedral shape. Whereas if I talk about NH3, it is pyramidal shape. And if I talk about water, it is bent shape. So that means hybridization is not the only concept, is not the only thing which defines the shape, but their energy is also. So in whichever form the energy is least, so they can attain the least energy state, that will give you the shape of that molecule. Okay, so all this we have already learned in chemical bonding chapter. And now in organic chemistry, how it will be helpful? Basically, we will be dealing with organic compounds where you will have carbon, carbon, carbon throughout, and we have to understand what is the hybridization of an individual carbon. So if I talk about the long chain carbon compound, and if somebody asks us, what is the hybridization of the second carbon? What is the hybridization of the third carbon? How to figure out the hybridization of certain carbon in a chemical compound or in an organic compound, that is what we are going to learn next. So now we have to understand how to find out the hybridization of carbon in an organic compound. So we follow certain formula to figure out the hybridization of the carbon in the whole series. So what is that formula? Formula is number of sigma bonds plus number of lone pairs. This gives you hybridization. So here also comes what number designates what hybridization. By the way, when we are talking about carbon hybridization, carbon doesn't contain D. It doesn't have d orbital, so there will be no hybridization involving d. We can have only three type of hybridizations with carbon. One is sp3, another is sp2, and third one is sp. We cannot have d2sp3, dsp2, and all those hybridizations which involve d, because carbon does not contain d. So we have only three possibilities: sp3, sp2, and sp. And how will we figure it out? By this formula, and that is number of sigma bonds plus number of lone pairs. If number of sigma bonds plus lone pairs sum comes equal to 4, then the hybridization will be sp3, and the percentage s character, that means how much s percentage is there, or s orbitals percentage is there, is called as percentage s character. Why it is important? It is important to understand the electronegativity of the carbon. Now, when you're talking about the organic compound, throughout the organic compound is made up of carbon, but that doesn't mean that all carbons have the same electronegativity. Ideally, if the element is not changing, electronegativity should not change, right? But that doesn't happen. Basically, depending upon the hybridization of the atom, that atom's electronegativity also varies. So that is the reason why we are trying to understand the S character, percentage S character over here. More the percentage S character will be there for any carbon, more electronegative that carbon would be. Let's see here. And we will, if you have not understood it right now, you will get a lot of chances and multiple times we'll be using it, and slowly it will all set in your mind. So let's understand first the formula and how to implement it. So number of sigma bonds plus lone pairs will give you, let's say if it gives you answer 4, then the hybridization is going to be sp3. Now here if you look at the percentage of s in this hybridization, it is 25%. Similarly, if the sum comes out to be 3 of sigma bonds plus lone pairs, then the hybridization will be sp2 and percentage S character will be 33.33%. If the number comes 2, then the hybridization will be sp and the percentage S character will be 50. Now here let me tell you, when the carbon has all the 4 single bonds, then let's say I have this compound CH4, okay, or any compound where carbon has all single bonds, it is attached to all the single bonds. In that case, now if you count the number of sigma bonds over here, we have 4 sigma bonds and no lone pair with the carbon, so the number comes here is 4. So automatically the hybridization of this carbon becomes sp3. So percentage S character here will be 25%. Why I'm telling you this? Because I'm trying to figure out which carbon is more electronegative, or in a particular compound. Let's say if I say I have a compound CH3, CH double bond CH2. Okay, this is my compound, and we want to figure out which carbon is more electronegative, or what is the electronegativity difference between these carbons which are present in this compound. So if I talk about this carbon, this carbon is sp3 hybridized. How come? It's making 4 sigma bonds, no lone pairs, so sp3 hybridization. Look at this carbon. Now in this carbon, how many sigma bonds are there? three sigma bonds are there. So the hybridization becomes sp2. And again, when you talk about this compound, how many sigma bonds are there? And sigma bonds will be two with carbon, two with hydrogen and one with carbon. So three sigma bonds, no lone pair. So again, the hybridization becomes sp2. So these two carbons having sp2 hybridization will have the stronger electronegativity as compared to the one which had sp3 hybridization. So if I mark, let's say I say this is my carbon 1, this is carbon 2 and this is carbon 3, assume I've just randomly written, let me just write it with a different color. So it's 1, 2 and 3. Let's say I have three carbons, and if somebody asks me to compare the electronegativity of carbon 1 with carbon 2, carbon 1's electronegativity, I'll just write it, electronegativity of carbon 1 is lesser than electronegativity of carbon 2. Or let's say if they want me to compare it with carbon 3, then electronegativity of carbon 1 is lesser than the electronegativity of carbon 3. You get sometimes the questions like this where you have to compare the electronegativity. Even if you don't get the direct questions on electronegativity, this concept you have to understand very well because we will be using it further for reactions. Okay, so here we have got to understand that depending upon the hybridization, the electronegativity of the carbon changes. More the S percentage S character would be, more will be the electronegativity. How to find out the hybridization, that also we have learned just now. So this point is clear to us that more S character, more will be the electronegativity of the carbon. Mind it, in general, carbon doesn't have any lone pair. Carbon tends to form single bond, double bond, triple bond, but carbon doesn't carry any lone pair on it. So why have we taken this term number of lone pairs in our formula? So here, what is the lone pair, what we are referring to, in which case this number of lone pairs funda will be used? Let me explain you. So let's say if I have a case like CH3, CH2, CH2 minus. That means this carbon has a negative charge. Or you can also write it as CH3, CH2, CH2, the pair of electron which is negatively charged, pair of electron on the carbon because of which the carbon has a negative charge. So if I have a carbon carrying a negative charge, then that negative charge will be considered as lone pair, or the pair of electron which is causing the negative charge will be considered as lone pair. So now if I have to calculate the hybridization of each carbon over here, so how will we do it? Let's understand. This carbon is making 4 sigma bonds, so hybridization will be sp3. I hope you understand what are sigma bonds and what are pi bonds. Next is this CH2. CH2 is making one bond over here, so one sigma bond, sorry, another sigma bond over here, and two sigma bonds with hydrogen. So again, 4 sigma bonds, and the hybridization will be sp3. Let's talk about this carbon. This carbon is making 3 sigma bonds, and it has one lone pair over here. I will consider it as a lone pair. So the negative charge is due to the contribution of the pair of electron, and that pair of electron will be considered as lone pair. And again, the sum comes to be 4, and hence the hybridization of this carbon will also be sp3. In these kind of species, the negative charge will act as a lone pair, and at that time we will be using this term number of lone pairs for calculation of the hybridization. Okay, now here comes a twist. Let me just tell you what is the twist. Let's say I have a compound CH2 double bond CH single bond CH2 minus. Right now, here in this case, what is happening, if somebody asks us to find out the hybridization of each and every carbon, then let's talk about this carbon first. This carbon has 2 sigma bonds with hydrogen and 1 sigma bond with the carbon, so total sigma bonds are 3, no lone pair. So the hybridization of this carbon will be again sp2. Now what about the hybridization of this carbon? Just now we have discussed that if there is a negative charge on the carbon, in that case the pair of electron which is contributing to that negative charge, or because of which there is a negative charge, will be considered as lone pair. But mind it, as I said, there is a catch over here. In the cases like this, where the carbon carrying the negative charge is neighbor of the carbon having pi bond or double bond. See, this is the carbon to which we are referring, and this is the neighbor of the carbon carrying the pi bond. So in any such compound where your negatively charged carbon is neighbor of the carbon carrying a double bond, in that case the lone pair or the negative charge, the lone pair which is causing the negative charge or negative charge will not be considered as lone pair. That means we will just ignore this pair of electron and will not be counting it for our lone pair calculation. So what will be the case over here? It has made 2 sigma bonds with hydrogen, 1 sigma bond with the carbon. So total 3 sigma bonds, but no lone pair. Even though, even though it has a pair of electron which is causing a negative charge, but still we will not be considering it. There is a reason behind it, and that reason is that this pair of electron which is causing the negative charge is eventually going to get delocalized. What do we mean by delocalized? Delocalized means, local means when the things remain to the particular carbon or a particular atom. It's like if it's my pen and it is with me, it is local. But if it travels from one place to another and it keeps on going from one person to another, then the thing becomes delocalized. So exactly same thing is what I'm trying to explain you over here. So if I say this is my carbon 1, this is my carbon 2, and this is my carbon 3. Okay, so let's say this pair of electron which carbon 3 was carrying, that travels and goes to some other carbon after some time due to any phenomena which you have not learned. You don't know right now why will it travel from that carbon to some other carbon. So that we are not getting into. We are not getting in depth of why this pair of electron is basically moving from one place to another. We will get a chance to understand that phenomena is called as resonance. Resonance means traveling of the lone pair of one from one place to another, or traveling of the negative charge from one place to another, or from one atom to another. And there are multiple definitions for resonance, which we will do it later. But this pair of electron which I am referring to is not local, is going to travel from one carbon to another. And any pair of electron which is delocalized, which is traveling from one place to another, is not considered as lone pair of that particular carbon. So carbon 3, right now it looks like on carbon 3 there is a pair of electron which is causing the negative charge, but in actual situation that pair of electron is not going to stay with that carbon. It is going to travel to some other carbon after some time, and that is the reason why we cannot consider it for the hybridization. Okay, further more explanation on it you will get it. There will be almost like 2-3 classes on this concept, so you don't hit your head with this concept right now. Just try to understand or treat it as a fact, or just try to understand the small basic thing that if my carbon which has a negative charge is the neighbor of the carbon which has a pi bond or the double bond, then the carbon's negative charge or the lone pair or the pair of electron which is causing negative charge will not be considered as lone pair for the calculation of hybridization. That's all. That's all is what we have to understand right now. Why? If you further want to go deeper into it, because that pair of electron is not going to stay with that carbon and eventually going to move out or shift on some other carbon. Such kind of lone pairs or such kind of movement of electron from one place to another is called as delocalization. This pair of electron is a delocalized pair of electron, which is also called as that it follows or it does a phenomena called as resonance, and these things will not, or these kind of pair of electrons will not be considered for hybridization of that atom. Okay, I hope it is clear to you guys. If it is still not clear, you can ask me in the doubts class. So let me just reiterate it. If the negative charge is on the carbon which is present in the neighborhood of the pi bond, then it will not be considered as lone pair because it is delocalized pair of electron, and it will participate in a phenomena called as resonance. And hence we will be just considering the sigma bonds. We will not consider this pair of electron for the calculation of hybridization. The two examples which I have explained you just now, the same set of examples I have written it on the screen. So let's just do it once more so that you don't get confused, because there was a small space and I just scribbled it over there. Here it is much more clear to understand. So what is happening? Just let's see once more. This is the compound. I have marked the carbon 1, 2 and 3. I have to find out the hybridization of, let's say, carbon 3. In this case, number of sigma bonds which is carbon 3 is carrying is 3. The lone pair is there because of this negative charge would have been given by a pair of electron, and that is the reason why we say that the lone pair is 1. So total number of sigma bonds plus lone pair comes out to be 4, and hence the hybridization is sp3. As simple as that. So here the negative charge is being considered as lone pair. Now the second case which I have taken is CH2 double bond CH single bond CH2 minus. That means this negatively charged carbon is the neighbor of the carbon having a pi bond. If somebody asks me to find out the hybridization of carbon 3, in that case, we will consider the sigma bonds, those are 3, and we will not consider this negative charge as a lone pair, and hence the number of lone pairs is 0. The total of sigma bond plus lone pairs is 3, hence the hybridization is sp2. This is a very important concept. And the questions which are asked from this part is directly just a compound they'll give you, and they'll ask you to find out the hybridization of a certain carbon. And at that time, if the carbon is like this, which is in which there is a pair of electron which is going to be delocalized or going to participate in the resonance, or which is the neighbor of the carbon having a double bond, in that case you will give the another hybridization if you don't know this concept, and the actual answer would be something else. Now if I ask you guys to figure out the hybridization of the carbons, will you be able to do it? Okay, if you can, if yes, then just take these questions, note them down, pause the video, and try to write the hybridization of each and every carbon in this question 1. And then let me just discuss the question 1 with you, and then we will come to question number 2. So first you will try out this question number 1 on your own. Pause the video, try it out on your own, and then let's verify the answers. Okay, so now I hope you would have done with the hybridization questions. You would have marked hybridization of each and every carbon in question 1. Let's quickly check what is the hybridization of every carbon in these compounds. So there is one carbon here, one carbon here. There is a and all these are bond line structures. So we are assuming that the valencies of carbon are fulfilled by hydrogen, apart from single bond, double bond, triple bond, whatever has been written over here. So here we see that there is a double bond over here. So I'm expecting this is carbon, double bond, carbon, and the other valencies would be fulfilled by hydrogen. So this would be the structure. So CH2 double bond CH2. I have written it very badly. Let me just rewrite it again. So the compound would be CH2 double bond CH2. This is what it is representing. Total number of sigma bonds what we have is 3 in the first case and 3 in the second case. So hybridization comes out to be sp2 and sp2 for both the carbons. Okay, now look at this carbon, carbon, and carbon. So what is this compound? Let's first of all solve this as a normal, or write it as a normal chain. So it will be CH3 single bond CH double bond CH2. Number of sigma bonds here in case of the first carbon are 4, and hence the hybridization would be sp3. In the second case, the number of sigma bonds are 3, hence the hybridization will be sp2, and here also the hybridization will be sp2. Now other thing, another question, I'm not solving it, I'm not writing it in the expanded form. I hope you would know how to resolve a bond line structure into the normal structure, and I'm directly writing the hybridization. Cross check it with the ones which you have solved. So in this case the hybridization would be sp2. Here also the hybridization is sp2. Here also the hybridization is sp2, and here also the hybridization is sp2. Now let's talk about this carbon. So there are 4 carbons actually over here. Even though they are written in the straight line, this is how you have to resolve it. So if triple bond is written throughout, that means there are just 2 carbons and the triple bond is in between. If it is written this way, where you have a short triple bond and then there is a length given, that means there is one carbon, one carbon. As soon as the triple bond is getting over, there are one carbon, and then next endpoints are the another set of carbons. So here the hybridization of this will be sp3. This carbon is sp, this carbon is also sp, and this carbon is sp3. So these are the hybridizations of these carbons, and I hope you would have got it right. If you have not got it, if there is any confusion, if there is some doubt, you can ask me in the doubts class. Now let's try out the another question. What we have to do in the another question, this is majorly you have to do. Once you'll do it, I'll just directly write the answer without explaining it. If you still left with any doubt, as I'm mentioning again and again, ask me it in the doubts group or doubts class. Here I have given you a structure. First of all, you have to find out how many sigma bonds are there in total. Then you have to find out how many pi bonds are there in total. Then you have to find out how many sigma bonds are there between sp2 hybridized carbons. So in the pair of 2 sp2 hybridized carbons, how many sigma bonds are present? That is what you have to count. So there can be multiple pairs of sp2 hybridized carbons. How many sigma bonds are there in total? That is what you have to find out. So let me just discuss one or two questions with you, and rest of all you will be doing on your own. Okay, so this first compound, if we see, number of sigma bonds is what we have to calculate. We are not talking about any specific carbon, we are talking about in total how many sigma bonds are there. If we talk about this first compound, the compound is CH2 double bond CH2. If I have to calculate the number of sigma bonds, this carbon is making two sigma bonds with two hydrogens, two sigma bonds with two hydrogens over here, and one sigma bond which is common between one carbon and the another carbon. So total number of sigma bonds are 5. So total number of sigma bonds are 5. How many pi bonds are there? Just one. We can see it very clearly over here. So one pi bond. And now number of sigma bonds between sp2 hybridized carbon and the another sp2 hybridized carbon. So we don't have multiple sp2 pairs over here. We have just two carbons. This is also sp2 hybridized and this is also sp2 hybridized. How will we get to know whether it's sp2 or not? Minded, there is a small trick. All single bonded carbons are sp3, doubly bonded carbons are sp2, and triply bonded carbons are sp. You just have to remember it this way. Okay, so I'll just write it. You don't have to every time calculate the number of sigma bonds and pi bonds and lone pairs and this and that. You just see wherever the single bond is, that will be sp3. Double bond is, if the carbon carrying double bond will have a hybridization of sp2, and the carbon containing triple bond will have the hybridization of sp. Okay, so I have two sp2 hybridized carbon over here, and now we know number of sigma bonds between one sp2 hybridized carbon and another sp2 hybridized carbon is just one. We're not talking about the total sigma bonds, we're talking about the sigma bonds between two sp2 hybridized carbons, and that is going to be just one because there are two bonds in total, one sigma, one pi. So this is also one. I'll just solve another question also for you, and rest you'll try out on your own. So let's see the another question. Another question is CH2 double bond CH single bond CH double bond CH2. Okay, so let's talk about the we will just write down the hybridizations also first. As I mentioned, all doubly bonded carbons are sp2. So this is sp2, this is sp2, this is sp2, and this is sp2. Okay, all of these are sp2 hybridized carbons. Now we have to find out the total number of sigma bonds. So this carbon has two sigma bonds with hydrogen. So two sigma bonds with hydrogen, and one sigma bond here between the first carbon and the second carbon, so plus one. Then this carbon has one sigma bond with hydrogen, so plus one. Then there is one sigma bond between the second carbon and the third carbon, so plus one. Then comes the third carbon having one sigma bond with hydrogen, plus 1, and then one sigma bond between the third carbon and the fourth carbon, so plus 1 again, and the fourth carbon has two sigma bonds with hydrogen, so 2 plus 1 plus 1, so 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 and 9. So total 9 sigma bonds is what we are getting. Okay, number of pi bonds very clearly visible. One pi bond is here and another pi bond is here, so total 2 pi bonds. Now comes the question, number of sigma bonds between sp2 hybridized carbons. Let me just rewrite the molecule again. CH2 double bond CH single bond CH double bond CH2. So let's figure out the sigma bonds. Out of this is all of these are sp2. This is sp2, this is sp2, this is sp2, this is sp2. So if I talk about this pair of sp2, then there are two bonds in between. One is sigma, one is pi. So one sigma bond over here. Then if I talk about this pair, one sigma bond over here. If I talk about this pair, one sigma bond over here. So total 3 sigma bonds are there between sp2 and sp2 hybridized carbons. So total 3 over here, right? So in the first case, what was the thing? It was 5, 1 and 1. In the other case, we've got 9, 2 and 3, and I hope rest you will be able to solve on your own. So try out, figure out what is the answer for this. I'll be just directly writing the answers, match your answers with that. So answer for the third one is 14 sigma bonds, then 2 pi bonds, and then 3 sigma bonds between sp2 and sp2. For the fourth one, number of sigma bonds are 12, then 3, then 6, and then fifth one. So answer for the fifth one is 23 sigma bonds, and then comes 2 pi bonds, and then 3 sigma bonds between sp2 and sp2 hybridized carbons. So these are the answers. Verify and ask me if you have any doubt, anything which you have not understood, ask me so that I can explain you anything. Till here, if you have any doubt, you can post the questions in the doubts group and I'll help you out. So here we have understood how to figure out the hybridization of the carbons in an organic compound. Next concept comes to the degree of carbon and degree of alcohol, degree of haloalkane, and so on. So finding out the degrees in the organic compound. So first we will talk about the degree of carbon, how to find out the degree of carbon in an organic compound. Okay, so how do we do it? First of all, so there are four kind of degrees what we deal with. One is primary, another is secondary, third is tertiary, and fourth is quaternary. So there are 4 degrees in total. When we talk about carbon, carbon can actually show all the 4 degrees in an organic compound. The carbon can be of primary degree also, can be of secondary degree also, can be of tertiary degree also, and can be of quaternary degree also, which we also call it as 1 degree, 2 degree, 3 degree, and 4 degree. Now how will we figure out in a compound a particular carbon is showing what degree? That basically depends upon how many carbons it is further connected to, or basically how many immediate neighbors it has as a carbon. For example, let's say if I take a compound as CH3, CH2, and CH3. So if I talk about my first carbon, it has only one immediate neighbor as the carbon. It is bonded with 3 hydrogens and 1 carbon, so it has only one neighbor as carbon. Okay, so one attachment with the neighboring carbon, or only one carbon as a neighbor. If I talk about the second carbon, it has 2 hydrogens and rest of the 2 bonds are linked with 2 carbons. So immediately it has 2 carbon neighbors. Whereas if I talk about the third carbon is also similar to the first carbon, where it has 3 hydrogens. So 3 bonds are linked with hydrogens, whereas 1 bond is linked with the carbon. So how many bonds have carbon in them, or how many bonds of a particular carbon has made the bonding with another carbon, that basically decides the degree of the carbon. Now, in the same compound, let's talk about this compound itself. If I talk about this first carbon, that is CH3, I just now mentioned out of 4 valencies, 3 valencies have been fulfilled by hydrogen and one is with carbon. So basically it has only one carbon attachment. It is attached to only one carbon atom, right? So carbon which directly connected with only one carbon atom, such kind of carbons are called as primary carbons, or we call it as the degree of the carbon is called as primary degree. So here the degree of this carbon, the first carbon, comes out to be primary. I will just write primary as 1 and the degree over here. Okay, I will not write the complete primary term. Now in the case of second carbon, what's exactly happening? The carbon has 2 bonds with 2 hydrogens and the rest of the 2 bonds with 2 carbons. So it has 2 immediate neighbors as carbon. So when the carbon is directly connected to 2 carbon atoms with individual bonds, so it doesn't mean that you have a carbon with CH2, CH3. So basically I cannot consider both of these carbons. I'm talking about the immediate neighbor. How many immediate neighbors are carbons? That will be telling you the degree of the carbon. So if my carbon is attached to 2 immediate carbons and then 2 are the hydrogens, that means the degree of the carbon is secondary. That means carbon which is directly connected to 2 carbon atoms, that is called a secondary. Similarly, for tertiary, if the carbon atom is connected to 3 carbon atoms directly, then it is called as tertiary. If my carbon will be connected to 4 carbon atoms, that means all the 4 bonds have been made with the carbon only, then then the carbon will be called as quaternary carbon. How is it possible? Let me show you. So let's say if I take an example as a carbon with another carbon, CH3, 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 and CH3. So if I talk about this middle carbon, all the 4 bonds are linked to the carbon only, there is no hydrogen. So such carbon will be a quaternary carbon, where all the 4 bonds or all the immediate neighbors are carbons only. Okay, this is about the degree of carbon. Exactly similar way we talk about the degree of hydrogen also. But before I move to the degree of hydrogen, let me tell you about one more type of carbon, that is called as super primary carbon. That is not for the multiple compounds, but it exists in only one compound, that is CH4, which is also called as methane. In case of methane, it doesn't have any carbons as a neighbor. All the 4 bonds are linked to the hydrogen only. That is why the carbon of CH4 is called as superprimary carbon. Superprimary carbon is nothing else but the primary carbon itself. But in primary always have one neighbor as carbon, but it doesn't have any neighbor as carbon. It has all the four bonds linked with the hydrogen only, and the term superprimary carbon is only and only valid for methane. Okay, let's talk about the degree of hydrogen now. Now, degree of hydrogen will depend upon where the hydrogen is actually present, or on which type of carbon it is actually present. For example, if I take the example of CH3 single bond CH2 single bond CH, I have taken the same example again. So here we have just now understood that the first carbon of it is primary, second carbon of it is secondary, and the third carbon of it is again primary. If somebody asks me what is the degree of hydrogens present on the first carbon, let's say this is first carbon, this is second carbon, and this is third carbon. This is first carbon, this is second carbon, and this is third carbon, assume. Then if somebody asks me what is the degree of hydrogens which are present on the first carbon, what is the degree of carbon, that will decide the degree of hydrogen also. So degree of the first carbon is primary. So the degree of hydrogens is also going to be primary. So what type of carbon it is attached to, that will decide the degree of hydrogen. So hydrogen present at primary carbon will be called as primary hydrogen. Hydrogen present at secondary carbon will be called as secondary hydrogen. Hydrogen present at tertiary carbon will be called as tertiary hydrogen. But will the quaternary carbon will have any hydrogen in it? No, because all the four bonds have been linked with the carbons. So there will be no hydrogen. So that means there is no such term called as quaternary hydrogen, because it does not exist, because the carbon can maintain only four valencies, and when all the four valencies have been linked with the carbon, then there is no scope of hydrogen being there. Hence there is no way you can have a quaternary hydrogen. Okay, so if in the same question, if I talk about carbon 1, what is the degree of hydrogens in carbon 1? All are primary hydrogens. Carbon 2, all are secondary hydrogens, and carbon 3, all are primary hydrogens. That's how we have to figure it out. So now here I have taken one example. Let's quickly talk about the example over here. Example is CH3, CH2, CH, CH3, C, CH3, CH3, CH3. This is a little branched compound I have taken. And what we are trying to figure out over here, the degrees of each and every carbon. So if you talk about the first carbon, the degree of first carbon is primary. Degree of second carbon is secondary. Why? Because it is connected to two carbons here. The degree of the third carbon, or of this carbon, is 3 degree or tertiary. Why? Because it is connected to one carbon over here, one carbon over here, and one carbon over here. Let's talk about this carbon. This carbon is connected to 1, 2, 3, and 4 carbons. So that means the degree of this carbon is going to be quaternary. Let's talk about this carbon. This carbon is connected with another carbon by only one bond. Rest of the three bonds are linked with the hydrogen. Hence, the degree of this carbon is primary. Again, when I talk about this carbon, it has only one link with the carbon, and rest of the other places we have hydrogen. Hence, this carbon's degree is going to be primary. Okay. This was a little branched kind of structure, hence it would have become a little clumsy for you to understand, but I hope you have got it how to find out primary, secondary, and tertiary. I have given a question over here where we have to figure out what. I have given the structures. You have to figure out in each structure how many primary carbons are there, how many secondary carbons are there, how many tertiary carbons are there, how many quaternary carbons are there, how many primary hydrogens are there, secondary hydrogens are there, and tertiary hydrogens are there. I have solved only one part of it for you, and rest of all you will try out on your own. But let me explain the first part so that it will be easier for you to know how to solve the question. So the first compound is this. This is what? Let's resolve the structure. Structure is this: CH3, CH3, hydrogen, and this CH3. So now, first of all, we will try to figure out the degrees of each carbon. So here I have the carbon over here. If I talk about the degree of this carbon, it is linked with only one bond with another carbon, so this is going to be primary. This carbon is also linked with only one single bond with the carbon, so basically only one neighbor as a carbon, so this is also primary, and this is also primary. So I have three primary carbons, so I have written it 3 over here. Do I have any secondary carbon? Let's see this center carbon over here. This center carbon has made 3 bonds with the carbon, so basically it has 3 neighbors as carbons, so this should be tertiary. So degree of this should be tertiary. So I don't have any secondary carbon, hence I have written 0 over here. I have only one tertiary carbon, so I have written 1 over here. Do I have any quaternary carbon? No. So that's why I have written 0 over here. Now I have to figure out how many primary hydrogens I have. And how will we decide how many primary hydrogens I have? That will be decided on the basis of how many primary carbons I have. We will count all the hydrogens of those primary carbons, and that will give us the count of primary hydrogens. So I have one primary carbon over here, one here, and one here. So basically three primary carbons, and each carbon has three hydrogens. So total number of primary hydrogens are going to be 9. So 9 primary hydrogens. Do we have any secondary carbon? No. If I don't have any secondary carbon, uh, so that means there will be no secondary hydrogen also. So hence the secondary hydrogen is 0. For tertiary hydrogen, let's see how many tertiary carbons we have. We have only one tertiary carbon, that is in the center. That is in the center, and this center has only one hydrogen to it. Tertiary hydrogen is only one hydrogen, so 1 is for tertiary hydrogen. If you have understood how did I resolve this question and how did I get primary, secondary, tertiary, quaternary carbons count and primary, secondary, tertiary hydrogens count, then you will be able to solve rest of the parts also. Try it out on your own. I'll be just writing the numbers over here. You will have to verify it, but stop the video, pause the video, do the question on your own, draw these all the structures in your notebook, find out their respective numbers whatever have been asked, and then you can verify with my numbers what I have written over here. Okay, so these are my answers. Try out on your own, figure out and check whether your values are right or not. If you have any confusion, if by mistake I have made any mistake, tell me in the doubts group or tell me in the doubt session. Now let's talk about the degree of alkyl halides. What are alkyl halides group? Alkyl halides are nothing else but the carbon chain with the halogen present on it. What is halogen? Chlorine, bromine, iodine, and fluorine. Any of these elements, if it is present along with the carbon chain, then the compound is called as alkyl halides or haloalkanes. You can call it either way. So basically, we are going to deal with the compounds with the carbon chain, and then these chlorine, bromine, iodine, fluorine would be present somewhere in the chain. If I have to find out the degree of alkyl halides, how will we find it? So this is determined by the carbon at which the halogen atom is present. So basically, we're not talking about all the carbons in the chain. We are specifically talking about the carbon on which this halogen group is present. What is the degree of that carbon will be the degree of the halogen atom also. Okay. For example, let me just give you one small example and then we will go to the examples given over here. So let's say if I have CH3, CHCl and CH3. So this is the carbon where the chlorine is present. Let's talk about the degree of this carbon first. This carbon is attached to two carbons, hence the degree of the carbon is going to be secondary, and hence if somebody asks me what is the degree of this chlorine, the degree of the chlorine is also secondary. So basically, degree of halogen or degree of haloalkane or alkyl halide, you call it anything. You can call it alkyl halides, you call them haloalkanes, anything you can call it. So degree of haloalkane or alkyl halides will depend upon where the halogen group is present, where the chlorine, bromine, iodine, fluorine is present, and what is the degree of that carbon. So it's the same concept, just apply it on these questions, figure out the degree of the alkyl halide or halogen present, and then I will write the answers over here, match with your answers. Okay, so let's quickly discuss. If we talk about the first compound, the chlorine is present on this carbon and it seems to be a primary carbon, hence the degree of this haloalkane will be primary. If I talk about the iodine, iodine is present on the middle carbon is linked with two carbons as the neighbor, and hence the degree is going to be secondary, hence the haloalkane or alkyl halide degree is going to be secondary. Look at the bromine. Bromine is present on this carbon. This carbon has an immediate neighbor as only, it has only one carbon as an immediate neighbor. Hence, the haloalkane degree is going to be primary. Okay, so we are basically going to check how many carbons it is directly connected to, or how many bonds are basically connected to carbon. We are not going to deal with what other groups are present. We are just talking about how many bonds are linked with carbon. That's all. Okay, so in this case, this is the carbon. Okay, and this carbon is linked to one carbon over here and one carbon over here, so basically two carbons it is linked to, and hence the degree is going to be secondary, and haloalkane's degree or alkyl halide degree is also going to be secondary. Now let's talk about this compound. This compound is like this. Okay, here is chlorine. This is the carbon where the chlorine is present, and this carbon is linked to one carbon over here, another carbon over here, and third carbon over here. So three bonds are directly connected to carbon, hence the degree is going to be tertiary of this carbon. If the degree of this carbon is tertiary, then the haloalkane degree is also going to be tertiary. Next comes the degree of alcohol, which is exactly same way, which is determined in exactly same way how we have determined the degree of alkyl halides. What is alcohol, or what is the alcohol group? OH group is called as alcohol. So basically we have the one whole chain where OH will be present somewhere. On which carbon this OH is present, that will decide the degree of alcohol. So if the carbon on which alcohol is present is a primary carbon, then the alcohol degree is going to be primary. If it is present on the secondary carbon, the alcohol degree is going to be secondary. And if the OH is present on the tertiary carbon, then the degree of alcohol is going to be tertiary. Okay, so let's quickly check. It's the same way. I'm just directly discussing with you the examples which I have given over here. So OH is present here. This carbon has only one carbon as a neighbor, so this is primary carbon, so alcohol degree will automatically will become primary because it is connected to the primary carbon over here. Look at this OH. It is attached to the carbon which has three carbons as the neighbor, so degree of this carbon is tertiary, hence the alcohol degree is also going to be tertiary. Look at this OH. OH is present on this carbon which has immediate neighbor as two carbons, one here, one here. So basically the degree of this carbon is going to be secondary, hence the degree of alcohol is going to be secondary. Look at this carbon now. The OH is present to this carbon which has one neighbor over here as a carbon, another neighbor as a carbon here, and the third neighbor as a carbon here. So basically three carbons as the neighbors, and hence the degree of this carbon is tertiary and degree of alcohol is also tertiary. Let's talk about this compound. OH is present on the center carbon. The center carbon has only two carbons as the neighbors, so the degree is secondary. So overall alcohol's degree is also going to be secondary. That's how we figure out the degree of alcohols. I hope you would have understood. I'm going a little faster now because you have done certain questions in all the previous things. So I'm expecting that by now you would have understood how to figure out the degree of the carbon, and hence that will be the degree of the alcohol or haloalkane or alkyl halide also. Next, we'll be talking about the degree of amines and degree of unsaturation, but that will be in the next video. In next video, we'll be talking about degree of amines, degree of unsaturation, and many more things.